Film Trace. This is a podcast where we trace the life of a film from conception to production all the way to release and reception. It is episode 9 of season 3 for us. It is a newer movie. Chris, it was your choice. You're going to have to do a lot of explaining as to how and why you came to this movie. So first of all, what did you choose?
I chose the new Casey Affleck thriller ? Every Breath You Take. By a down and coming director.
Down and
out. His name's Von Stein. We will get into it in depth later, but in terms of like what made me, I did not actually, though it might seem like it, close my eyes and randomly point it somewhere on the internet to choose this week's film. There's 3 reasons that I've come to the conclusion to.
Oh, nice.
And I will say that I was only vaguely conscious of one of them when I actually did pick the movie. It took some real deep dive into my heart to realize why I've done this to us. First reason, it's a Casey Affleck movie with a pop song title, and one of my favorite movies of the 2000s, though I wince at the idea of revisiting it, is Gone Baby Gone. Also wait,
that's one of your favorite movies
from the 2000s.
That's a long period of time.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that going into this. So I'm doubly surprised at this point.
But Gone Baby Gone, I don't know. But another Casey Affleck pop song thriller title. And so I think that was just like the initial pull is like, oh yeah, there's familiarity there. And I will say that, like, whatever dude's canceled, he did some pretty fucked up things. Said some pretty fucked up things to a lot of his female co-stars and co-workers.
During that movie, what was it?
Whatever that
pseudo documentary thing.
Yeah. I don't even know. That was a piece of crap. But I will say that, like, apart from that, at least until that moment, I very much was a Casey Affleck apologist. I thought that he was like the talented Affleck brother. And that was also the same year, right? That, well, it really came to a head when he was starting to pick up traction award season for Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah.
A movie that I really loved. And it just, but it was made problematic by the fact that, here's this creep and kind of bad dude getting all this critical acclaim for it. I will say though, trying to take it apart, Kenneth Lonergan, I think, is one of the best screenwriters of our time, and I think that the dude was perfect for the role. So I see Casey Affleck in doing his sad guy thing in like gray coloring, and there's something there that attracts me. And also, Michelle Monaghan was also in Gone Baby Gone, so it's a reunion of those 2 actors. Probably once again, I'm the only person that was like looking for that reunion. Maybe.
I love that though. That's good.
Then the third and final factor that didn't really come to my consciousness until probably the third act of the film, where I was like, literally, I started this movie at like 11 o'clock at night because I'm an insane person. But
Was this last night?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude, that's great.
And so like, head. I am like giddily laughing on my couch watching this movie at like 12:15 at night, and the third act, it just like crystallizes for me. Is like, I was obsessed as like a preteen with watching movies like Sleeping with the Enemy, Hand That Rocks the Cradle, what I like to call charming stalker movies.
Totally, yeah.
And I kind of didn't really realize that this was going to be one of those, because they kind of tried to, in the Logline, it's not that obvious. But I mean, you can kind of tell from the get-go, just from like some of the promotional images. I didn't even see the trailer before I picked the movie. But like, I see the word psychological, and then I see that Casey Affleck's playing a therapist, and it's just like, oh, this is going to be problematic as hell. And it made me excited in a very kind of Schadenfreude kind of way.
And I've seen you added the wolves in sheep's clothing, charming stalker thrillers to our deep dives, and there's so many movies on here.
I know, right?
I mean, I was like Fatal Attraction. Pacific Heights was a big one for me back in 1990.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, that one's really creepy. Sleeping with the Enemy, I just rewatched like 6 months ago. It's pretty good, still fun. Yeah, it's a fascinating genre that really sort of, I guess it's supposed to dissect suburbia or like the domestic life on some level, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
or like, yeah, there's some sort of criticism there, or suburban criticism going on. But
I think
with
it's
this
very,
one, go
it's
ahead.
very, I was just saying, it's like it one of the things that I feel like it's very entrenched with, because like you and I grew up in the 90s, is the stranger danger phenomenon.
Totally. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like that was such a part of our like zeitgeist of being a kid in the 90s in suburbia. So like that particular aspect of it was probably what drew me to like watch Sleeping with the Enemy on whatever the fuck WB network, you know, edited for television. And that's just been like this. It's like it's that whole thing where it's just like, you know, you don't want to think that anybody that would be kind to you for the first act of a story, whether it's a fictional story or real life, would ever turn on you. But it's like baked into American culture now that like, don't trust anybody.
Well, I mean, there's a whole cultural thing with it. Like, we're not a sort of community-based civilization. Like, it's
right.
We all do our own thing. You know, it's live free or die is our society's motto. And
you got to look out for number one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the logline here? Did we talk about the logline yet? I don't think we did. Like,
no, go for it.
About? All right, so psychiatrist played by Casey Affleck has a patient. Spoiler alert, she ends up committing suicide in like the first 10 minutes. And essentially her brother comes around after she commits suicide and starts to get very lodged in his life. He has a wife and a daughter, a teenage daughter, and is played by India Isley, who's like 28 or 27 when this is filmed, which comes out at the end when her voice changed. Did you notice this?
No, I did not.
I picked out all these weird things about this movie. So she has like a teenager's voice up until like the third act, and then all of a sudden she's talking like an adult female. Like there's like a difference in tone and stuff.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, she just seemed way too old to be playing a teenager. But that's, I guess, the norm in the industry. So
right.
In any event, so he's got this wife and daughter. They had, and I don't even know if I have this right, like the basics of the story, and I've watched it twice. They had a son who was killed in a car accident, which we see in the opening scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then that then comes back. How really does? I mean, it sort of does. Just because, you know, this patient's brother starts to be, he's the stalker dude. He's the charming stalker dude with a pretty decent British accent. It sort of comes back. So it's like there's these different layers of trauma. But going into it, it's really important to know that whereas a lot of these sort of domestic thrillers are all about like this tight-knit solid family that gets disrupted by this outlier, this otherness, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This family is completely a mess. And they hate each other. They don't talk to each other. They're emotionally stunted. So it's a very strange sort of domestic thriller, because normally the wolf's going to come in and kind of screw stuff up, but he doesn't. I mean, in this case, it's like it's already screwed up, right? Yeah. So he's coming in and kind of like playing on their vulnerabilities. In any event, so where did this come from? Who was involved in this movie? And how is it released? Like, what are the basics on that?
Yeah, well, I actually found some conflicting info on this.
I love conflicting info.
Yeah. So, and it seems like you found out what I had thought at first, which is that this script's been laying around for 8-9 years now.
Yeah, I think so.
In 2012, it was announced that Rob Reiner would direct the film, which is like, wait, what? Yeah. Both in terms of tone and in terms of like, why would such a big name pick up something like this? But also, Then I got another piece of info. I was really trying to like, I was going to like the third or fourth Google results page, dude.
It was really hard to find information on this movie. I'm not gonna lie. Usually we can find a ton of stuff in interviews,
Yeah.
like right off the bat. This one you have to dig pretty deep to find
You do.
good info.
And so I ended up on horrornews.net, and director Von Stein did an interview there in which he said that the producer, Richard B. Lewis, one of the founders of Southpaw Entertainment, had been trying to make, he said this in the interview, unless it's a typo, he said in the interview, Richard B. Lewis had been trying to get this film made for 18 years.
What? That makes no sense. That
So I'm
sounds
like,
like he's like making up a story to like
I don't know. It's
like,
so
a hook.
bizarre. But I mean, it's just believable enough that like this guy who had, you know, been a partner of Trilogy Entertainment for 17 years and then wanted to get into his own thing in the mid 80s, and especially with when this genre, the charming stalker genre, blew up in the 90s, early 90s, which is right when he hit it big with Backdraft in 91 and Robin Hood Prince of Thieves the same year. So it's like I don't know. It either, and the other thing that like just makes this even more of a mystery is that the script is attributed to a guy named David Murray, who has no other credits on IMDb, has no footprint on the internet at all. Like, does David Murray even exist? I don't know.
Maybe it's Von Stein and just like it's his nom de plume or whatever.
Or maybe it's Richard B. Lewis. I don't know.
Which plays perfectly into this film. There's a lot of red herrings and switcheroos going
Pseudonyms.
on. Yeah. And so like it sounds like, okay, so from the production side of things, it's from some veterans, right? Like these guys kind of know what they're doing.
Right. They've been around.
But what I find strange about this, and I was looking through the notes on, because I couldn't really figure out with the pandemic, it's very odd how movies are getting released, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some were slated for theatrical, then they got pushed back indefinitely, then they got pushed to VOD. Some are getting sort of, you know, the Warner Brothers stuff where they're putting stuff on HBO Max and releasing in theaters. With this one as a smaller film, had a lot more trouble, I think, getting released. And basically what happened was it was acquired for distribution just about a month ago. On March 8th, Vertical Entertainment acquired the North American rights to sort of put this out as the theatrical release, but also on VOD kind of at the same time. So it's a day and date release. For a movie like this, I mean, does it have any box office information? I didn't see any at all.
No, impossible to find. Supposedly, it was released theatrically limited, but it might just be like literally one theater in LA and one theater in NYC.
Well, because when they want to get like awards,
I don't know. I don't know. Like, why even bother?
Are they possibly kidding?
I don't know.
Okay, cool. So, and then, you know, who else is in this? Casey Affleck, obviously we know. Sam Claflin, that's how you say his name, right?
I guess.
Yes, Claflin. You know, he looks really familiar, right, to me. Have you ever seen Me Before You?
No, I don't know what that is.
So he plays the role in that, the lead in that.
Oh, shit. He was in The Nightingale, which I loved.
Yeah. He's a pretty good actor. I think he actually was really good in Me Before You. That movie's terrible. Don't watch it. It's actually like really insulting and offensive.
Okay.
But he's great in it. And I feel like, you know, his performance in this, and the film kind of rides on his performance, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like it doesn't really work. You know, obviously he's the stalker, charming, you know, wolf in sheep's clothing person in the film and the story. And I think he shows up. But I think that, like, you know, when you're talking about the script, you don't know where it's from. It's trying to harken back to a genre that was big in the 90s. Does it have the same punch, that genre, now as it did back then? I mean, just generally, what do you think? Well, why not though? That's what I don't get. Why not?
You know, and I was like, we've kind of found connections between the pandemic and a lot of the movies we've been looking at, and, you know, release timing versus like delaying it, etc. But that was really like looming large because so much of this movie is about a family stuck in their house, and the house is and there's a lot of interesting in quote marks reasons why they went with this. But similar to what you were saying earlier, it's like they're trying to capitalize on the family's vulnerability rather than their tight-knittedness, which is what was usually the aim for the movies in the 90s. With like a few exceptions. Probably the thing that like resonated the most with me was thinking about The Cable Guy and how there was, and Chuck and Buck, like these movies that like played with that genre in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, where they like started being a little more self-aware of the kind of ridiculousness here. And so like this movie is trying to like have this very clinical setting with this very sad family, and that resonates a lot with the pandemic life. But it's also, that's the thing that a lot of people have commented on, is like, that's not the kind of escape people are looking for right now. Like, we don't want to be stuck in our houses watching a movie where people are stuck in their houses. And in addition to that, I think the reason that I ended up like with side-splitting laughter in the third act of the film is because after 2 acts of like really like leaning into the seriousness of it,
super serious,
it just like blows up into like full trash mode Lifetime movie. And then that's where I actually was like almost, like not quite, but bordering on the edge of awe.
Don't do it. Don't give it credit where it doesn't deserve it. Like, there's no reason to do that.
Because I was entertained, Dan.
What you're trying to say, it's ironic? Are you going to try and say it's ironic?
I don't. That's the thing.
It's like, I would not on the genre.
I would not go that far. Absolutely not. But there's just enough of that trashy element that makes you wonder, where it's like, how much did they do in this on purpose? Which made me think of also, just to go back to like how this genre has like aged horribly over the years, when this kind of story tried to start kind of having a resurgence in the late 2000s with like Lakeview Terrace, Obsessed, The Roommate, right? So, and none of those movies worked, but they also very much bordered on the edge of trashiness, where it was just ridiculous enough where you're like, are they in on the joke? And I didn't think they were.
No,
but I don't know.
They're definitely not. Well, I think you bring up a really good point though. Like, because if they had fully leaned into this,
yes,
and they were like, we're a Lifetime movie, but we got a lot of money, that would have been really fun. I think everybody would have enjoyed it. I think like there was one recently, I forget, that was kind of like that. What was the one with Katherine Heigl? Remember this? Unforgettable.
I saw that on the list, but I wasn't familiar with it, so I didn't put it down.
Yeah. I mean, totally trash film, but super fun, and like didn't even mean to be fun, but it's so bad it's fun.
Right.
This one's just, it's real dour. The whole thing
it really is.
And like I got to call a couple things just in like how this movie was conceived and produced and all that kind of stuff. One is the setting. So this thing was shot in and around Vancouver. It looks like Vancouver, but like they don't really mention where they're at all that much. They're pretending to be in Washington State, but like, and this is like a weird thing with me. I know this is like a word hang up I have with movies, but like geographical accuracy is super important for me for some reason. It's either that or it's Nowheresville, and those both work, but you can't do the in between. So it's like, where do they live exactly? Would you guess? It's in Washington, but what part of Washington would you say?
I mean, it's got to be on somewhere near the coast, right? Because there's like a boat and a dock. But then also, here's another reason why I wonder if there was somebody in on the joke. Maybe not everybody.
No, you always do this.
Because no, listen, they keep talking about how
you're looking for you on set is what you're looking for.
Casey Affleck and Michelle Monaghan keep talking about vacationing in British Columbia.
Dude, I have this written down. I have this written down on my legal pad.
They're literally in British Columbia.
And I'm like, but like, there's 2 problems with that. Okay, so this is I'm so glad you brought this up because I had to talk about it. One, yes, you're right. They are filming in British Columbia, in Vancouver. So that's number 1, odd. 2, and one of the reasons why this movie lacks a lot of punch is that like there's not a lot of specificity to what's happening in these characters. It's very generalized stuff. Oh, he's a psychiatrist. Well, what type of psychiatrist is he?
Yeah.
Right. Like, and why is he seen? Okay, if he works at a university, shouldn't he be doing like hardcore research and not having clients.
Oh, I know.
Like that's kind of different. Like that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Clients at home, his home
yeah,
office.
or he's like, what? That's not what they do. That's not what clinical psychologists do. So like there's all these examples of there being a generalized concept of a character in a setting, but it's like a mile wide and an inch deep. It's just not there. Exactly. And back to the British Columbia thing, the reason that stood out to me wasn't the fact that like, oh, they're filming in British Columbia. I was like, people in Washington State don't say, hey, let's go to British Columbia. It's like that'd be like, hey, I'm gonna go to, you know, like it's right there. They'd say like, oh, we're gonna go to Whistler, or we're gonna go to this park. You know what I mean? Like they're not gonna say like, oh, we're gonna go to British Columbia. We're gonna go to Canada. You want to go to Canada for summer? Like what? And then there's that Europe line. Oh, and then he goes, or maybe we can go to Europe. Remember Europe? What are you talking about, dude? Like it's just the dialogue is terrible in this.
Oh my god.
And it I think that, but to me, I think we got to talk a little bit more about the setting too. It is this weird sort of super bourgeois. Mm-hmm. Are they in the suburbs or where are they? Because their house is in the middle of nowhere.
Right. And that gets confusing with the not just the dialogue, but also the like logistics of the characters moving when they do leave the house. Yeah. Like the daughter, like can't walk to the library for her study group, but then when she's out with Sam Claflin's character, he at some points just says go home and she walks home. Like what?
Yeah, I'm like, where are they? I mean, here's my guess. My best guess is that they live in like an exurb of Seattle, like way far out on the coast, but then there's a little fishing village in town, you know, where they live.
Yeah.
Then his commute must be terrible because he probably works at University of Washington or something like that, because it looks like the school's at a big place. But the reason I bring this up,
but it's all close shots, medium shots, so you never really know where the school is,
right? Yeah. So I mean, sometimes that Never Land movie set stuff works, but in this case, it's like because the movie is so trying to be grounded in reality, it just plays so false and so empty.
It's distracting.
It is distracting because it's sort of like I want to know more about where they're at, and that's kind of a shorthand way to build that cinematic universe or whatever, that world to immerse the viewer in, and none of that's happening here. It's just not happening at all. And I mean, let's also talk maybe a little bit about Casey Affleck and his character in this, because I think it's important. Do you think the character is written that terribly, or do you think Casey Affleck is just that bad in this movie?
Whew, that's a really chicken or egg situation.
But I mean, here's the thing, though. If we're being super rational, he has been very good in movies. Like in Manchester by the Sea, I think he's pretty amazing. In Gone Baby Gone, like you said, he's good. In 999, he's not good.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, dude, you got to see 999. It's like our generation's Heat.
Whoa.
I mean, that's what it tries to be, and Kate Winslet shows up with a Russian accent. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. I really do think that there's moments where he does the best he can with the material. So like my instinct is to say that it's the script, but I really do feel like he's kind of a husk of a man post Me Too movement.
He is,
and he's just kind of trying to coast, it feels like, too. But I will say, like, for as horrible as the movie is, there was one scene in particular between him and Michelle Monaghan where I was like, well, this feels like lifted from a good movie and just like plopped in here. And maybe you disagree with me, but the scene where he, spoiler alert, if anybody's going to pay $20 to watch this thing,
don't pay $20 to watch it.
The moment where he forgives his wife for cheating on him.
Yeah, I thought that was good. Yeah.
I thought that was a really nice scene, and they both played it lovely.
Well, they're both good actors.
Yeah,
like, she's a phenomenal. I've always think she's been,
right. She's underrated.
Oh, way underrated. Wasn't she in what's the one with the Shane Black movie? Which hey, by the way, spoiler alert, we're doing Nice Guys next week.
Yeah.
What was it? The one with Val Kilmer? Isn't she in that? And Robert Downey Jr. Kitty bang bang.
Kiss bang bang. Kitty bang. Yeah, no, she is super good in that movie.
She's so good. She's fantastic. But one thing I want to pick out too is like, why did people sign up for this? These are good actors. And Coughlin, I think, is really on the way up. And he said in terms of why he took this on. He goes, I think the sign of a good script is when you're left shocked and surprised and left on the edge of your seat. I have to say, I haven't had mountains of thrillers come across my desk for me to compare them to. But for me, it felt like the first time I was really engaged in the characters and was left not knowing what was going to happen next. I mean, is that... I guess.
I feel like that's him bullshitting for an interview.
Yeah. I mean,
but-
that's the thing too. It's like, I wonder how these people feel about the movie.
Right. And one thing that I will say, though, that I might be like the sliver of truth that helped him vomit that up for a reporter was that even though those first two acts are very dour, and I saw this in a lot of the reviews, and we'll talk more about some specific critics' reactions to this. But a lot of people thought it was boring, but I think that's the one thing it wasn't. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh god, yeah, I thought it was super boring.
Really? Okay, I found it eminently watchable, even though it was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it moves at a brisk pace. There's not
a lot
that
happens.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I think for me, the hardest part about these films is that like you have to care about the main characters. Mm-hmm. And like I think Casey Affleck's character in this is just unwatchable. He's just boring. Obviously, he's depressed, but like that doesn't make for a good protagonist.
Yeah.
It just makes for like a flat viewing experience. You're like, okay, this guy's kind of fun. The crazy guy's kind of fun.
Exactly.
He's a fun dude. He shows up. He creates some fireworks. I was like, yeah, you should go off with this psychopath. I mean, it's more of a fun life than spending your life with Casey Affleck, just like in that like super sterile house they live in.
I know.
It's like, oh, this is gross.
Like you texted me that it felt like an extended West Elm ad, which is pretty apt.
Yes. I mean, it just, oh man. Yeah, I don't get that. But I will say that, yeah, you're right. It is kind of fun. And these movies are supposed to be that way. They're supposed to be propulsive. Mm-hmm. And the behavior of the stalker character is supposed to get more and more ridiculous, which sort of happens here. I thought it was interesting too, like when Claflin was talking about this script, he was like, he thought that Casey Affleck was the one who was a psychotic in this.
Oh my god. I told my wife that I was watching a Casey Affleck thriller about a stalker, and she's like, oh, he plays the stalker, right? And I was like, no, but that would have been that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have been better, because I don't know if he can play that kind of character, but and Sam Claflin did a really great job for what he had to work with.
Yeah. I mean, it's I mean, I think if you take a sort of broader look at it, like in what works and what doesn't work, I think Claflin definitely was a good choice for that character. Affleck, I think, was a bad choice. I just don't. He's just, I don't know. There's nothing really sympathetic about his character.
Who would have been a good fit for that? If considering that maybe they would have had to do some script revisions.
Bob Odenkirk.
That would have been cool.
That would have been that would be interesting and fun, and
he could have leaned into the comedy angle too.
He could have leaned into the comedy angle, and like he also feels like there's a part about Bob Odenkirk, and I think this character needs to feel kind of like a family man almost. Mm-hmm. Like he's gonna have like down like that sort of like Midwestern feel. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And like Casey Affleck's from Boston. He comes across as cold. He doesn't seem like he even cares about his family all that much.
Yeah.
And that like doesn't play well. Give me a guy from like Iowa. Give me somebody who's like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, give me something like that. And like, because that's so important to this character. Never once did I feel threatened by Claflin's character. I was like, I don't care what he does. I don't care what he does with the family. Like,
speaking of that there was one other moment that I thought Casey Affleck really sold. And maybe that's because he's a husk of a man now. But when he's talking to his boss, and the boss is telling him that Sam Claflin's character has reported Casey Affleck to the board of, I don't know, psychiatrists, whatever. But it's like threatening his job, and like for whatever reason, Casey Affleck puts his head in his hands, and he just says, "I don't care. I don't care."
I don't care anymore. I was like, oh, this is like sad Affleck disease. Like
Yeah.
it's permeating his entire family.
And it
Um,
was also like a nice moment for the audience to be like, yeah, man, I don't care either.
yeah, whatever happens, I'm just like more fireworks, more explosions, more stabbings with ice skates. Let's
Oh
do
my
more of that.
God. Yeah, that they really they thought about it. They tried to. They linked it to the beginning and it was
But
still kind of
how is it
unexpected
actually linked? See, here's how you would have done this better
because
if
they're
I
on the
was
way to
in the.
hockey practice.
Yeah, I mean, I get that point, but like it should have been more like she caused an accident that killed their son, and that would create more tension in the family.
Mhm.
And then the stalker. So no one's gonna watch this movie. I know that
No,
for a
no.
fact. So Sam Claflin's character James ends up being the boyfriend, not the brother of the main character, and like that's
Mhm.
the huge twist, which is kind of
The
dumb because you could see it a mile
ex-boyfriend.
away.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can see the the
Like,
film opens with her talking about how crazy her ex-boyfriend or her boyfriend is and how manipulative he is, and he just disappears.
and I
Right now,
believe
come on.
I don't know, you watch it twice. So am I right in remembering that like there's even like a flashback scene where like you can see an overshot of Sam Claflin?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. And wait, why is he British? Her brother British? Did
Because
we? Is she British? The
no,
girl commits suicide?
the family is American, but for whatever reason, unexplained, footage not found, Sam Claflin as a kid was sent to boarding school in London.
Oh God, that makes This
But
movie is.
but his sister wasn't. I don't know.
Oh God.
Is Sam Claflin British or is he American?
Yeah, he's British, right? Yeah,
Okay,
I'm always
I was
positive
gonna
he's
say
British.
because when he quote drops the British accent when he reveals himself to be the boyfriend at the end, I'm like, you do not sound American.
No, yeah, he's from England. Yeah,
Okay.
so I obviously did not like this movie. I thought it was pretty bad. What did other people think about this? Am I alone in my hatred of this?
No, absolutely not, sir.
Uh,
Yeah, it was a Rotten Tomatoes All Critics 26%, which I think is one of the
nice.
lowest we've looked at. The top critic score of 17%. The All Critics real score is 41. Real score for top critics is 25. One of the worst we've looked at on film trace thus far.
Yeah,
Um,
it's bad.
it's really bad. Metacritic 32, so tiny bit of a bump, but we know that's pretty typical comparing the two sites. Rotten
Yeah.
Tomato audience score was unavailable as of this weekend, but has finally come in. They have enough ratings. I think they need to have at
Oh,
least 20
God.
ratings or something. But it did have a
Jeez.
little asterisk saying below 50 ratings, so 38. Still really bad.
Horrific. Yeah.
Letterboxd is 54, which is bad. But I mean, what does it take to get under
I think
50
there's
on
some
Letterboxd?
people on the irony train with you on
Yeah,
this one.
maybe.
They're
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, it's so terrible, it's kind of good.
exactly.
Um,
IMDb noob score of 50, so that's your highest one, which makes sense. People looking for a good time, Dan. Even
yeah,
though
they're just looking for a good. I think they're looking for an escape.
the first 60
Um,
minutes are not an escape, though. They're pretty
do you have any
awful.
favorite reviews from critics on this one?
I had to dig to find a positive review, right? You had
Yeah.
to, once again, go to the third or fourth page of Google results, and I found one. Stephanie Archer of Film Inquiry said that
Okay.
Every Breath You Take also boasts impressive performances overall from its cast. Fair. Um, Further compounding their performances, Affleck and Monahan tackle the layered destruction and rebuilding of their characters' relationship, both separately and in unison. There is clear chemistry and vision displayed in the portrayals they each bring to life. I'd agree with Monahan, but not so much with Affleck.
Yeah, I thought Affleck was pretty poor in this.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of the negative ones. I think I put this one on here. Kristen Yunsu Kim from New York Times. The movie coasts on so many tropes that you almost expect it to subvert them, but the plot remains equally foreseeable.
Mm-hmm.
I think like that. I think that's ultimately with a with a genre film like this. It's like you have to hit the conventions and do them really well, and that'll get people sort of engaged. And then you got to do something else. You got to add on top. With this one, it's almost like a paint by numbers thriller,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't do anything. It doesn't even hit the mark all that well with those genre conventions, and then it does nothing to add to them.
Yeah.
I
I
mean, with the
will.
story. Oh, go ahead.
I will say, like, we're trying to understand this guy Von Stein, the director, and what
Yeah.
he's going for. here. I haven't seen either of his previous films. This is his third feature, and he made a movie called Terminal, which is like supposedly a zany, off the wall, like noir
Was that with
spy
Margot
movie.
Robbie?
Margot Robbie as an
Yeah.
assassin, and they're stuck in a train station. That sounds like a hell of a lot of fun. But it got pretty bad reviews, and then what got even worse reviews was his 2020 movie Inheritance, Simon Pegg movie that had the poor misfortune of coming out the same year as Knives Out, which is based, and it's basically the same plot. It's a family fighting over the inheritance of the patriarch of the family, and but once again, both of those movies clearly have like a over the top zany or like edge to them, and then here it's like it's so much grayer, it's unsure, and so I'm very curious to see what he does next. Even though I didn't like this movie, because he has Zach Braff on board. Are we ready for a Braffonaissance?
No, please, no.
For a movie coming out next year called Tiburon, and it's a shark movie. Family
shark in
family
Spanish.
Stuck at sea. So
I mean, I could be on board for that.
That
but
sounds
that
fun.
could end up like The Happening, though.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? Like, it sounds cool on paper. The trailer for The Happening was amazing, but it was like inert. It was like Anticinema, which is this. I would put this in Anticinema as well. And it was funny you bring up Knives Out, because I think that movie's just phenomenal.
Right.
And I was watching Pluto TV today. I was doing the bike, and they had like all these movie channels, and they just play random movies. And the Brothers Bloom was on, same director, Ryan Johnson. And I was like watching this, and I was like, you know what? I love this movie. It's not good, but I love it because like every scene is just filled with this vitality.
Yep.
Right. And it's the same thing for like a Quentin Tarantino movie. You're watching this, and you're like, this person who is making this understands the medium so well.
Right.
That like they could put anything on screen, and it's going to have this sort of spark to it. And then you watch a movie like this, which I did twice in the last week, and like every single scene is just completely drained of any sort of spark or vitality, or it's not there. This guy doesn't understand how to make movies. So it's like you have these interesting and cool ideas. I think this same script in someone else's hands could be a lot of fun, could be interesting.
I kind of want to wish I could have seen Reiner's version of it, because he's much more.
That would have been terrible for a whole different reason.
Right. But it would have been interesting, I think, to see like this kind of thriller in a comedy director's hands. And I think, like you said, like Bob Odenkirk in the lead role, I don't know, there's a version of this movie that could have been kind of fun, not good, but maybe kind of fun, more fun than the version we have now, where basically the only fun part is the last 30 minutes. My last insight, since you mentioned that word vitality stuck out to me. And one of the things that stuck out to me in reading a bunch of, not a bunch, he basically only did 2 or 3 interviews with Von Stein, is that, this guy, it's his third feature, so he's getting his feet wet, but he was working for years as an AD or second unit or third unit guy. And one thing that he mentioned about his time as in that kind of more logistical role is that he still very much believes in like, cutting on time, making sure that you're on budget, and like being basically the ultimate rule follower when it comes to line producing and stuff. And so when he goes and does a movie like this, it feels like he wants, and he also comes from a world of theater back in Bristol. And so he has another quote from an interview where he's like, in theater, the text is king. And so it's like you said, like he's not doing what Johnson or Tarantino would. And I mean, those guys write their own scripts, so maybe it's not the best comparison, but take, I don't know, somebody like Scorsese, who doesn't write his own scripts, and like he does he makes sure he has a good script, which is important, but he also makes sure to transform it so that every scene that winds up on screen has that vitality to it, and he doesn't give a fuck if he goes over budget, or if he has to like do 50 takes or something like that.
Well, that's something like, it's the pure cinema thing, which I love. It, like his whole thing. It's there. Yeah, there's something about those amazing directors, and there's a lot of different styles of it, but it's like, I almost feel like you could give them anything and they would make it seem just pop off the screen. And I think this is just an example of someone who just doesn't know how to light a fire at the end of the day. Like, there's nothing about this film that's really gonna to grab your attention at all.
Maybe Braff will help him spark a fire, and help him realize that, you know, if he does something that nobody's ever done before, even if it's a silly little dance like in Garden State.
When's the last Zach Braff movie you've seen?
I did not see the last one. I saw The Last Kiss.
Wish you were here. Yeah, I rewatched The Last Kiss with our friend Molly, and she had never seen it before, and she was very angry by the end.
Speaking of cultural crimes,
it is really bad. And Zach Braff, he is who he is. You know, I would say about this, the one thing that sort of there's a lot of stuff in this movie that I had problems with, and there's just these scenes and the dialogue, like the couch scene. There's a scene in the middle of this movie where it's kind of like a fight between the two leads, between Casey Affleck and James, the stalker dude. And the culmination of it is them sort of moving the couch together. And then James, like in a way, and this is when Affleck says, "You can't, my wife's not going to sell your house," blah, blah, blah. Because he was like trying to hit on her and, you know, bed her, so to speak. They go to move the couch, and then James's power play is, "Oh, we need to move it more."
Yeah.
And like, that's the culmination in conflict in this movie, is moving couches.
You think it's going to go somewhere, but it doesn't.
It doesn't, like you said, go anywhere.
It's inert, like the couch.
It's just, oh man. Oh my God. But you know, whatever. I'll suggest some good kind of cool stalker movies like you have on this list, like that I've seen that I really like. Ingrid Goes West, phenomenal. Please see that. Aubrey Plaza is amazing in that. And then Girl on the Train. If you're looking for a schlocky Lifetime movie that's a lot of fun, Emily Blunt and Girl on the Train is such a good ride. Have you seen that? You've seen it, right?
Yeah, it's such trash.
Oh, it's like perfect trash though. Like if you're looking for that style of film.
Yeah.
And then I would say, you know, if you haven't seen Gone Girl, please see Gone Girl. I've watched Gone Girl 100 times. It's a terrible movie. The script is a total mess, but it is so much fun. And Fincher, the exact opposite of what we're talking about. Fincher could, you know, film a coffee cup and make it look, you know, have it be the most vital story you've ever seen in your life. Right. And so he does that. It's like that, the exact opposite of what we're seeing here.
The artsy trash. Yeah.
Yeah. So fun times. Okay. So it's our season finale next week.
Heck yeah.
And we're going to do The Nice Guys. We already mentioned Shane Black and Kitty Kitty Bang Bang. Is that another movie? I feel like?
Chitty Bang Bang? The Disney?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. So we're going to do The Nice Guys, which came out 5 years ago, which doesn't feel that long ago when it came out. And I've probably watched it like 10, 12 times. It's one of my favorite movies in the last 5 years.
I've only seen it once, so I look forward to rewatching it.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's a great rewatch. And so that'll be this season finale. Any closing thoughts, Chris?
I will say that I'm realizing now, and I'm not sure if you're realizing it too, Dan, but it's this is a movies podcast with two white guys that are ending their seasons with 2 episodes about canceled white guys. So we'll make sure to touch on Shane Black's whole past 5 years, because it's an interesting ride, but I feel like we've really started to hit our stride, Dan. We know who we are. We know what kind of cinema we have to deconstruct and trace. And I appreciate that. I look forward to not only our season finale, but next season, looking at some more new releases of 2021. And I promise I will find a good one. Or no, you're going to pick the new movies next season.
Yeah, I got the new one. So you're in my car now, man.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
okay.
Better buckle up for season 4. In any event, thanks for listening. This has been Film Tricks.